Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Why, hello there and welcome. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. I'm welcoming the audience and Chris Potter, who just blew through the door in the nick of time. He, editor of Pittsburgh City Paper, new issue out today with...
stuff in it. Actually, the reason I'm late is I just got, this is hot news.
Okay.
Right off the wires.
All right.
And you'll be glad to hear this. Florida Governor Rick Scott has now announced that during the GOP convention in Tampa,
they're actually going to have
you will
a
be
ban.
able to bring firearms into the city.
You're
Not into the actual convention zone itself, but the mayor of Florida of Tampa had requested.
Well, I know. The mayor of Tampa had said, please, I know we can carry guns here, but during the convention to help security, please, can we have a temporary stay?
Rick Scott says, the answer to your question is in the Second Amendment. Wah, wah, wah.
Dear Lord.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, yeah, you're on
So,
the second phrase.
yeah.
I mean, well...
So I'm excited. Now I want to go.
Well, bring your bulletproof vest.
I'm not going into the streets. I'll just peek out from the...
Well, but all of
hotel.
Florida's like that.
Yeah.
So, the funny thing is that I think we've talked about this. The mayor, so the Tampa government, has been passing measures left and right, trying to get ready for this this frivolity this summer in their fair city, and so they have banned fake guns. Do you know that?
I had not heard.
No. They've banned water blasters. They've banned pea shooters.
Oh, yeah, I did hear
They've
that.
banned, pop guns, cap guns. Anything that looks like a gun has been banned. Well, how funny is that?
Well, look, I mean, you have to be pretty stupid to bring a pop gun to a GOP convention. I mean, this is not a group of folks who's particularly noted for being able to spot legitimate threats. So, you don't want to get Trayvoned. No, I'm just saying, you know. I got a pop gun. I mean, this is a stand your ground state, folks. A reasonable expectation.
I don't know.
Anyway, so it'll be a hot time in the old town tonight coming up for that GOP convention, folks.
Dear Lord. I don't, okay. I'm glad you're laughing. See, it depends on one's mood, whether or not you laugh at that news and you're in a certain kind of mood, or whether you just fall into the, pits of despair and despond, which I seem to be reacting like. All right.
I like how we have this yin and yang. Like, we always have the opposite. Like, some weeks I come in and I'm the one who's despairing, but you're like all like, we're going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, deal with it.
So it's so the dynamic is the same, even though our roles shift. It's fascinating.
Okay, well, so you be Pollyanna today. All right, so do we even want to talk about the president's thing?
I'm about to confess to being a bad citizen. So
you didn't even listen to it?
It's the terrible thing to admit. Like, so we're on the White House press email list and it was like, the president will be making an address at 7:30.
Right.
And I just thought, I am not going to watch it.
Oh! Yeah, you assert. Now that's your First Amendment right as an American
I just thought,
citizen.
Whatever. I'm sure I'll just be like, I'm sure A won't amount to much. Well,
I know the feeling.
Is everybody coming home tomorrow? I guess not.
Well, no. Overall,
it's all this sort of shadow.
Did you listen to any of the post-debate stuff? I mean, post-speech stuff? Because I really didn't listen to the whole speech either.
Oh, I see. You're climbing up my back about it.
I was elsewhere.
Okay, I see.
I was actually at a very interesting forum at Point Park about how the media and PR handled the Penn State fiasco.
Oh, yeah.
It was really very.
What was the
very well? I mean, the consensus, without a doubt, is this will be a textbook case in universities that are teaching public relations to people. This will be the case that will be for 100 years taught to kids on how not to do it. Right. I mean, they went through how on every step Penn State screwed up. Every step they were idiots.
Yeah. Well, there's an institutional hubris about.
Well, that's part of it. It's a culture and also the reporter types talked about that culture too, and how Bill Mushi, who has just written a book. Right, about it?
Yes, he has.
Why did you roll your eyes?
I don't understand. I don't think there's much value to doing a book at this point. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I don't see. I mean, it's hard for me to believe you pulled together the definitive word on this thing in time.
Well, he might not be saying it's the definitive word, but it might be the first. Why? Have you ever heard of?
No,
have you ever heard of?
I don't know.
Publishers, he has an agent. I'm sure an agent got in touch with a publisher. A publisher said, "Go for it. If you can get it out." Yeah,
okay,
come on.
But you could sell pet rocks too. I wouldn't say that they're necessary.
Well, Mushi though he's a good reporter.
Yeah, he's done. He's done stuff.
Really good stuff.
There's no question.
He's been nominated for a Pulitzer.
But generally speaking.
A fast turnaround book like that.
I don't know how many investigative reports in the workings of the criminal justice system Bill Mushi turned around in 10 weeks. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he did it with somebody too. But I mean, I would imagine it's whatever.
I haven't read the book, so I'm talking completely out of time.
Yes, you are.
Look, now I've also taken your role of beating the shit out of me. So, no, you were about. It was something about the institutional hubris of the institution.
Oh, he said and pointed out that if you start talking to the people there at Penn State, and it was clear that janitors, little people had seen stuff,
right?
Knew stuff, and to a person. Were terrified to say anything.
Right.
Because to in any way say something that would take down this beloved, and that's what they underscore too, this beloved, benevolent figure. Not only is he the defensive coach of, the mighty Nittany Lions, but he's this extraordinary, savior of young children adrift. Yes. So so that's the culture too. The culture did not protect those kids because witnesses were terrified to blow the whistle because they thought they'd lose their jobs. And one can assume that they were not incorrect in that calculation.
I don't know. Can they assume that? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know, but if a ton of opprobrium has been dumped on the heads of a handful of people whose names have surfaced in grand jury things and stuff like that. You got to wonder. I'm a little more sympathetic, obviously, to a janitor than I am to somebody in that position. But on the other hand, did the school? From what does that fear derive? Does it derive from things that I'm curious whether Mushi said had the school at some point, canned somebody who was a would-be whistleblower? I mean, were there reasons in people's minds, or was it just sort of a vague feeling they had that they'd be in trouble? Because at some point you do. I mean, I think
it's not just a vague feeling. I mean, my God. Well, I'm not saying they did the right thing.
Right.
But the reporter from the Trib was also there, and she said how she tried to interview a professor who was just on this, excuse me, could you tell me? And she said this professor literally ran.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say anything. Ran. So, I mean, from...
Did the professor have tenure? I mean, really, because what's the point?
Not.
Apparently not, right? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's...
And also, I mean, there's a fear even...
Well, did anybody talk about the fear of reporters? Because let's be honest here, because there was one reporter who had this stuff back in March or April, and that was Sarah Gainham, who did win a Pulitzer for her reporting to Harrisburg.
Well, it was
Patriot
pointed
News.
out that this story would still not be known
If it wasn't.
if not for
Yeah.
her. And
so,
she's a 23-year-old
So I
kid.
mean, I think that would be an interesting question for the reporters at the Post-Gazette or the Tribune Review, who really didn't do much with this story for 5-6 months after, there were all kinds of, rumblings from the Harrisburg paper. Maybe they don't read the Patriot News. I mean, but still, one would have to think if you're plugged in, if this is part of your beat.
Well, I wouldn't jump on. It was it was her story. It was their story. I mean, she did it.
Right,
and
she did it,
really
but where-
deserved the Pulitzer.
Right. And I'm not. But I'm saying she does that story in March or April.
And nothing much happens
for the
a
next
while.
however many months. Nobody else touches that thing. Nobody from local media. And there's always the problem. You got a sports reporter who covers this as their beat. They're a sports reporter, but you don't read that and think, maybe I should let the Home Office know that there might be something worth digging into here. I mean, I think that would have been an interesting question to discuss last night as well, and it sounds like...
Well, as it turned out, there was so much you start talking
Right.
about this.
Right.
We could still have been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually got up and left before it was over because I was starving to death. I mean, it was just, it could have gone on and on and on and on
Right.
and on. Okay, so let's not talk about Afghanistan, to heck with it. I want to talk about two stories that I found sort of interesting about nonprofits.
Ah, yes.
Did you read any of these?
I did read that.
Okay, so there's an interesting case that came out of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. The case specifically had to do with some Jewish summer camp or something.
Right. Finally.
Yeah, they got 'em.
The scourge of Jewish summer camps.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And of course, they maintained that they were nonprofit and tax exempt because of their religious orientation and all that kind of stuff. And so all of this property that they owned in the camp, the acreage, was not taxable. Well, the Supreme Court decided that's not true. There are 5 things 5 tests you've got to meet. According to Pennsylvania law, and you failed to meet one of them. Now, as I read these 5 things, and I want to throw this out to the audience, and then I think of something like UPMC. I don't see how it meets almost any of them. But here, this shows how ridiculous it all is. So here, in order to qualify as a nonprofit in the state of Pennsylvania, here's what you have to be able to do and say, pass this test. That, in fact, you advance a charitable purpose. That's number 1. 2, that you donate or render gratuitously a substantial portion of your services. 3, that you benefit a substantial and indefinite class of persons who are legitimate subjects of charity. 4, that you operate entirely free from private profit motive. And 5, that you relieve the government of some of its burden.
Yes.
It doesn't pass the laugh test in terms of UPMC and a lot of these other nonprofits. We have a call.
We've got a call. So
All right, go ahead.
go ahead, caller.
Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
Long time no call. It's
Yeah.
John from Greensburg.
Hi, John. Do you hear me, John?
Yes, hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. So go ahead.
Okay. Did you like what the president did last night? Kind of helped shut up all the right-wing whining about him politicizing his administration's taking on bin Laden, didn't it?
We were just talking about the fact that we didn't really...
What did he do, John? Because
we both said that we really didn't pay any attention.
You weren't aware that he basically went into Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
Talked
I mean,
about
obviously we know that. We know basically what he said.
Status of U.S. forces going forward.
Yeah. And you're saying it was
drawdown.
Okay, yeah. And you're saying it was a brilliant political move?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have to lie about an aircraft carrier being 300 miles away and only accessible by fighter jet.
No, it's right.
How about that?
Yeah, and you had John McCain and Lindsey Graham's, saying, yeah, way to go. Yeah, apparently politically it was brilliant. I saw that David Gergen on TV last night said he thought it was a brilliant speech. So, yeah, I guess politically, A+.
Yeah, he didn't even, I understand that Romney and Rudy Giuliani did deliver some pizzas.
Well, you know what? Ari Fleischer, you know what he said about it? Miserably, with the downturned mouth. Well, this shows the power of incumbency. That's it. Romney delivers pizza, and Obama does his thing and does it very well. I understand, but
did quite well.
Yeah,
wonderful speech.
Yeah, so that was
absolutely magnificent speech.
Well, okay. So I'll Google it. Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't.
Thanks for shaming us.
Yes. Thank you, Don. Good to
Thanks
hear
for the
from you
call, man.
again. Bye. So, okay. So back to this nonprofit stuff.
Right.
So the court actually said that the camp had met all but one of the tests, and I guess the one it didn't was and it said it was not relieving the government of some of its burden. And the camps, the lawyers for the camp, that's so funny. Okay. The lawyers with straight faces had argued that the camp was, in fact, a nonprofit because it was unburdening government by, quote, creating greater moral and social awareness in society.
Right. Which, I have never really thought of government having the obligation
to do that.
Creating moral awareness, I guess. That's a new one.
Well, but this shows the total. Apparently, though, those who follow this kind of thing say this is a real win for we the people. It puts I can't believe something this seemingly puts a little chink in the armor of some of these nonprofits and makes them vulnerable a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, the argument here was, and the whole implication is, I think the newspaper you're referring to does a good job of spelling out, is this is kind of a return to a status quo. It's less that the Supreme Court ruled on one side or the other, but that sort of it came down at all on this issue.
Right.
And previously, back in the 1980s, this is sort of the court cited this standard that it had back in the 1980s, and that standard was basically used by municipalities, including here in Pittsburgh, to challenge all kinds of nonprofits. And what would typically happen is the nonprofits wouldn't necessarily win or lose the case, but the very fact that there was the likelihood of litigation and that there was a chance of it coming out, municipalities, including Pittsburgh, used that as leverage. You were essentially getting a settlement out of court.
That's right.
UPMC or whoever would say, "Oh God, I just don't even want to deal with it. Why don't I give you $200,000 as a payment in lieu of taxes next year?" And you can actually look and see. And what happened is the legislature, acting largely at the behest of the Hospital Association of Pennsylvania, the legislature in the 1990s, spearheaded by our very own Jane Orey and some other folks, basically handed down this purely public charities act, which basically foreclosed most of these challenges. And you can look and see basically when did nonprofit contributions to municipalities, especially Pittsburgh, drop, and it was right
exactly
at that.
Then.
It was right after their agreements lapsed. You can just sort of see this downward curve. So does that open up the possibility for more leverage and more settlements? Conceivably, it does.
Well, here's something also I saw that Wall Street Journal today, Brown University, has agreed to fork over.
Right.
Voluntarily over $31 million a year to its city of Providence.
Which is really
Rhode Island, which is really hurting. Now, by law, they don't have to do it. They have decided that Brown is, quote, deeply concerned about Providence's financial situation, and they want to help. So Brown was writing some checks. I mean, voluntarily. Voluntarily, they were giving $2.5 million. And paying $1.5 million on taxes of certain properties but this whole huge hunk of stuff was tax exempt, like Oakland, like Oakland is.
Right.
And they decided to do the right thing and voluntarily forked over all this money and said they will do so. Well, they're not going to do it all at once. Over 11 years, on top of what they are already paying. And it turns out that they say that in northeastern cities that are filled with these
Yale does
Yales
well.
and actually the Ivies generally do, not all of them. But the mayor of the city had been threatening and saying, "I'll do," but he really didn't have anything going for him except shame, I guess.
Yeah.
Shaming them. And he said he was going to go after them for the failure to sacrifice, which is a nice way of putting it. So I was thinking, if we were to do the same thing here, and we have attempted to do it, Pitt would cry we're poor.
And we're being hamstrung by the government.
And we're being hamstrung by the government. But then you look at what they pay certain people. You look at what they give to the athletic program. You look at the whole culture, and you think you're not poor. You just have your priorities screwed up.
But see, the problem is for us is, maybe last week or maybe next week, you and I could be on the air talking about how terrible it was that the state is cutting its appropriation to Pitt by as much as it is, and now the tuition is going to go up on students. It's hard to make that argument out of one side of your mouth and then turn around and say they should contribute more to the city, and then not expect that they're going to turn around and say, well, we can give more to the city, but we're just going to pass along the cost to our students, right? I mean, there needs to be I think there needs to sort of be a broader a recognition that they're not acting in a vacuum there. And I should disclose that my wife works for the University.
Okay, now I will go from Pitt to UPMC.
Right, sure.
It's obscene.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all...
And how do they pass the test that they don't... What was that test
it's
about?
Profit, right.
No, that they don't... I'm going to get it exactly.
They operate purely without a public...
profit
motive.
That they do not operate... and they operate entirely free from a private profit motive. But give me a break.
But see how you and I demonstrate a profit motive is we say profit is revenues in excess of expenses, right? That to us is profit. And so if UPMC or the even bigger example, Highmark, which just has a massive amount of money lying around, so we say, oh, that's profit. So how can you say you don't have a profit motive? You go around and you buy up hospitals. That's what you're doing with profit. But the way they define profit under the law is different. It's like, does Jeffrey Romoff get a performance? Does he get stock options that he makes more money when their bottom line improves? No, he does not. He gets a salary, he gets these things, but it's not tied to that kind of financial performance the way a private corporation would be. Do they hand out dividend checks to shareholders? They do not. So how they define profit under the law is different from how you or I, or just like the average person on the street, would say, oh my God, they have $100 bazillion. Clearly they have too much money and they should kick some of that back. I mean, I agree with that as a sort of moral and political and social proposition, but as a legal thing, the law doesn't have anything to do with it.
Okay, so I'm always coming from a moral perspective, and it has zero standing when we're talking about legality.
Exactly so.
Right.
So that's how they passed the test, because the law has never had that much.
It doesn't have anything to do with morality. So there was another interesting piece in the business section.
Exactly so. Right.
Okay, I'm glad you saw both of these, where Highmark is being sued, or is attempting to be. This guy's attempting to sue them because he thinks
They're two. Two guys are suing
because saying that Highmark is raking in too much profit, and actually, this is what an idiot I am. I thought Highmark is a nonprofit. I wasn't even thinking they were. I'm thinking it's an insurance company. How's that a nonprofit? It's a nonprofit?
Yes. As a result of, remember that Highmark is essentially the combination of the Blues,
right?
Which if you look at the history of Blue Cross Blue Shield, they were once
a real nonprofit.
They were actually put together largely as a
But, okay, right. Jeez. You know, I've worked for nonprofits. And I
they don't have their names on.
No, I've never seen these
buildings.
huge phallic symbols that they put up with their names on it. And he says they're making too much and they're sitting on all this money. And what they should be doing with that money is lowering the premiums that their subscribers have to pay.
But again, here's where we want to pull back. What is Highmark about to do with a significant chunk of its financial resources? It wants to buy up Western Pennsylvania Allegheny Health hospital system so that there's actually a rival to
UPMC.
Can Highmark do that without access to the kinds of financial wherewithal it has? It cannot. It's the only local player that can do that. So for a guy from Philadelphia, what looks like just a greedy money grab, to us here in Pittsburgh looks like, I don't think anybody's crazy about Highmark or its premiums, but there's actually some sort of upside for us. So it becomes a pretty complicated issue.
Isn't that amazing? So these two behemoths that hold the health of Western Pennsylvania in their grip are both nonprofits.
Yeah, and that gets you into, and if you really, and it's this network, this sort of nexus of, government regulation and then sort of private sector motivation and just egotistical CEOs who can't keep it in their pants and so on and so forth. I think you just things get pretty hairy here. Why, for that matter, and this is an argument that I've heard Jim Furlow, for example, who I think is a really interesting perspective on all of this stuff, especially when it comes to the purely public charities act. One of the things Jim Furlow says is, if you want to build a hospital, you have to go to the state and get sort of a certificate of need. You have to demonstrate there's actually a need for this hospital, because there's an understanding on the state's part that if you build a bunch of hospitals,
well, that can't be true. So why are they putting up that Monroeville?
To build the Forbes facility?
Exactly. That's bull.
This is a great question. Why does the state do that? Why do we allow this stuff to happen? We have this system that nominally in some ways is regulated, but the regulators typically allow for UPMC and Highmark to act as if there is a profit motive. When Highmark builds that hospital in Monroeville, we all know what that's about. It's about market share. It's about building out their market share in the east suburbs. So why do we allow them to do it?
And it's about it's monopolistic. It's about squeezing out their only competition. But that has nothing to. Of course, that's how nonprofits operate.
Right. So it's this weird hybrid where some rules apply, some don't, and the state sort of says which ones can apply at any given moment. And generally speaking, the state defers to the institutions.
Yes, it does.
And what the institution wants to do must be charitable because it's a purely public charity. Therefore, all of its motives must be purely charitable.
See, I'm responding to everything you're saying with such equanimity, with just outrage.
Right.
I mean, just outrage. We both
agree. Again, we're taking our different emotional roles here. Yeah.
Okay. So here's an attorney who says, yes, the nonprofit law does permit a nonprofit to earn incidental profit.
Right.
Jeez. Don't you wish you could earn incidental profits like $500 million a year?
Exactly.
Man, I wish I could. Incidentally, I happened. So he says, in other words, here's how he parses that for what that means. That means you happen to make this money. It's not like you were really trying to make this money.
Jeffrey Romoff found that under his couch cushions. It was $1.2 billion. And he was like,
can't
get comfortable on this. It seems like it's
here.
Some of the ticking is coming out of
like the Princess and the Pea.
Right, except it's $1 million. It's a stack of unmarked bills.
Well, the article, which I do recommend, there's these two articles about nonprofits, one on the front page today and one on the front page of the business section in the Post-Gazette. And they say that many other states have done a much better job, this is a shocker, than Pennsylvania has, of defining what incidental profit is. Ugh. My disgust knows no bounds.
Except for the fact that we have to take a commercial break.
Oh, I guess we do. Good for you for minding the clock.
So it has some balance.
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to get my disgust under control, and we'll be right back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual restaurant guide magazine is available now. Plus, Christina Perri, Marilyn Manson, and Pop at the City Theater. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com. Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Opera, City Theater, Symphony, History Museum, and Carnegie Museums. Bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. Check out this week's big deal. Over 40% off authentic laser lipo treatments from FDA-approved Zerona. Bergbargains.com. Zwickly Med Spa provides the most advanced treatments in aesthetic medicine, including Botox, Restylane, Juvederm, Radius, medical-grade chemical peels, and sclerotherapy using a sclera for spider vein correction. We offer a relaxing environment and only the best products for your complete satisfaction. Conveniently located at 435 Broad Street in downtown Zwickly. Call 412-259-8628 to find out about this month's specials. Zwickly Med Spa. Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey there. Hello. So there's also a very funny thing. I don't know if again, you'll think it's funny. It disgusts me. It annoys me. And I have noticed some of this. So those of us who take the bus notice this. At the so-called transit stops at a bus shelter in the Port Authority has these signs helping people, who might be new to the city or not aware. Mm-hmm. So they say, you are here. And here's a little map so you can see where you're going. Well, there's a picture on the front page of the paper today about one of these guides at a bus stop at Market Street and the Boulevard of the Allies. And if you'll look at this, it shows you how you can get to right. Lord and Taylor, Lazarus, Kaufman's,
Frankensater,
right? Robert
Buell's.
Morris, where it isn't. Public Safety Building, where it is no longer. This is unbelievable. YW is not there. I mean, this shows again. I mean, just the total. And I know the one at my bus shelter that I get on in Liberty also has. It doesn't even have the right route map. Yeah. I mean,
it's funny. One of my coworkers has this bugaboo about this, which is the shelter where she goes. I mean, here's a question. You go to another city. You're staying in a bus shelter.
Imagine
and what they have not just a map, but they often have the schedule.
Right.
So
here are the buses. Here's what. Yeah. They
Port
give
Authority
you.
not only doesn't do that, but this coworker of mine has in the past people at her bus shelter have taped of their own under their own volition.
Trying to help people.
Their own. They have taped the paper schedule, and those will be torn down.
Yes.
Because apparently the argument is, well, they wouldn't necessarily be up to date.
But this is
Lord and Taylor, folks.
Now, the Port Authority
is
strapped for money. I know, but and I wish they would use their money to, in fact, retain routes and keep the price from going up. But this level of just flat out incompetence is just mind-boggling. Because this thing has to have been there.
Oh yeah.
From the time when they did have some money.
But I guess that just goes to show, how many people are
what
getting on the bus go into a bus shelter to look at the map for whatever. Nobody really complains, I guess.
Well, when you're standing at a stop, and it happens all the time. Someone will say to me, "Does the so and so stop here?"
Yeah.
When is or where is?
Right.
Some guy was saying, "I'm getting off at where is the?" We do not. I was downtown last night, and I was sort of marveling at how much nicer certain things. Point Park has this, lovely outdoor parklet, and there's a waterfall, and walked over to Market Square, and it's just like, restaurants all over the place. The square was full at 8:30 last night.
Although I can't stand the rehab they did of it.
I don't think it's very pretty either.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a public space designed entirely to keep homeless people out. That's what.
There are a few homeless people there.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, but
how is it to keep homeless people out?
So consider there used to be permanent benches. There used to be like little grassy plots where you could sit or whatever.
Well, there's still places where you can sit.
They're all
and
chairs.
There are still trees.
They're all chairs, and the trees are okay. So the trees are like in a little square of concrete. So you've got like a couple of little trees, all isolated by concrete. The whole point is
to get those people out.
So it's not comfortable to sit there for very long. Yes, there are the little tables and the little chairs, but they used to have benches, and then
where someone
years ago they changed the benches, so they put like a little handrail right in the middle of the bench, which wasn't about having a place to sit. It was
no, so you couldn't lie down.
And the whole plaza has been redesigned according to that. And and I will say this too, as a balding guy especially, it is absolutely brain frying in the summer. You go out there to like cover a protest, and it is just absolutely.
No, I agree. There's not enough shade, and I agree with that. So I'm not saying that, but I was talking more about the commercial aspect of the square. Yeah. That it was filled with people eating, going places, drinking. And this is on a Tuesday night. Yeah. So I was marveling at that and thinking, and I was wondering who some of these people were. There were like groups of men. I thought, they might be here for a convention, or because they looked like they were sort of like looking around. I'm thinking, we don't. Okay, so we're doing some things that make it a better city, I guess, livelier and all that. But then simple things like helping somebody navigate what is a very confusing downtown.
Yeah.
We don't do that. I don't know.
No, we don't.
So I'm looking at the glasses half empty as usual. Okay, so just to get things a little more upbeat, last time you were here, you got into a big to-do about a certain prom, which we will not get into.
Okay.
Because, God, you went back and forth with
a listener.
I thought the two men, guys, I mean, geez.
It was funny.
It was so funny. I mean, you kept like extracting sentence. You should see, I got copied on these. They would extract one sentence from the reply. Okay, Potter gets a reply from Ray in Lawrenceville, and he pulls out a sentence and highlights it, and then goes, blah, 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 blah. Then he pulls out another one, blah, 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 blah. And then Ray comes back, pulls out one of Potter's. I think, God, what is it with you guys? First of all, it's a waste of time. Isn't it? So you both are getting off on just a sort of intellectual. Well, why do you even?
Getting off is a little strong.
Okay, but you must enjoy the sort of.
I don't know, Ray. Was it that good for you? I doubt it. I don't think I gave him that much satisfaction, honestly.
No, you wouldn't give.
Yeah. Well,
neither of you would give.
That's right.
It was so funny.
Well, obviously, Ray was wrong. So. Anyway, you were saying we weren't going to get into a discussion of that, so.
Well, I emailed both of you, cease and desist.
Right, and of course that didn't stop
us.
Work. Then we both ignored you.
Right. And then I said as a joke, hey, Ray, there's an opening at the paper, and he didn't take it as a joke, and you didn't take it as a joke.
No, I understood you were kidding.
Geez.
I understood you were kidding.
Oh, yes, of course you did. Now, Ray, of course.
No, I'm sure Ray understood, too.
Did he?
He said, I'm too abrasive for journalism, which I thought was a joke.
Because
being journalist is part of the job description.
Yeah, a good thing to be.
Anyway.
Right, okay. So the New York Times has a story about another prom, an alternative prom. They're all over the place.
Right.
This prom is in Hamtramck.
One of the best named places in the world.
Hamtramck, Michigan.
Yeah.
Near Detroit.
Yeah.
It's an all-girl prom.
Right.
You know about it? No. Okay, so it's an all-girl prom. What do you make of that?
I don't know.
What do you think?
Sounds like
be?
the premise of a movie I saw on HBO when I was like 12 years old. That's Showtime. Showtime when
Well, actually,
I ran at about 11 o'clock.
Actually, what it is because that area of Michigan is home to lots of Muslims. This all-girl prom is because these girls wear the full. Do you pronounce it hijab? How do you pronounce it?
I've always pronounced it hijab, but I have no idea what that is.
Hijab and abaya, and what's the other thing? One's the headscarf, and the other is the.
I'm sorry.
Oh, come on, we should know by now.
I know.
And you're not sure either.
I'm not. I'm sorry.
Me either. Okay, so the girls wanted to be able to do this, but they're not allowed to date or dance with boys or appear without, their hair covered. And so one of the girls thought, well, let's dress up and do the whole thing and be by ourselves so we can at least.
So they wanted to dress up as if it was a regular prom because there are no guys around anyway? Is that
No. There are guys around, but they can't dance with them and they can't let them see their hair and they can't date them. They're in high school.
Okay.
So they got a room and they made it, they rented a hall. They did everything that a prom does, except that they went there without any boys. And they were dressed in,
Right.
Who knows, dresses that maybe Oakland Catholic wouldn't allow.
Right.
And their hair, beautiful hair flowing and makeup on and stuff. And they say that the girls. Here, one girl, a Yemeni American junior who was wearing a tight, sheared dress, said to another girl, "Oh my God! This is how you look underneath," she said to the other girl. So for them, they hadn't even seen each other's hair and how they looked. And they were reveling in the beauty of each other.
Now it does sound like a Showtime. The Red Burqa Diaries.
Okay, I'm going to ignore this.
I am taking your high-minded premise and I am taking it to 4th grade is what I'm doing.
The prom had they were dancing to Lady Gaga. They were fist bumping, they were whooping and hollering. They are having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
Except at 5 minutes to 8?
Dun dun. Guys show up.
The music stopped.
Uh-oh.
And they cleared the dance floor and put down prayer rugs.
Yes. And everybody had to,
And you prayed.
Right.
They prayed.
Yep. That's great. I'm for that.
The high school has 900 students. Many of them are non-Muslims, but the non-Muslims there during Ramadan, they're very careful to not show their food because they know their classmates are hungry. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah, that's just nice. Yeah.
All right.
Although not very high school like. Where I went to school, that would not fly. You'd be like.
But what I think is neat.
Bar.
Here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say about that.
Yeah.
For the girls, it was. I don't know if you guys understand this. I don't think women dress for men. They dress for other women. So that when you walk into the prom.
Right.
It's the other girls who are looking at you, not the boys.
Right.
It's just, blah, blah, blah. So the girls were able to do all this and revel in each other's, blah, blah, blah. And without the negativity of having to compete for the attention of any men, boys.
Right.
They probably had a great
Yeah, no, it sounds really
time.
nice. Yeah, it sounds nice.
Oh, listen to you.
No, it does. What? A sort of related point. I dated a woman once who pointed this out to me, and now I notice it all the time. And this is years ago. The sheer number of times, a woman walking down the street will look at her own reflection in the mirror or in a passing window or whatever. Guys almost never do that. Women do it almost every single time.
I try not to because I don't like what I see.
Right. But I mean, it's just like, it's really, once I started noticing it, and she was,
what do you make of that? Are women more?
No, I think they're just, I think
concerned about their appearance.
I think women are the subject of the gaze, and they're always mindful of how they appear. The point was not that women are vain or anything like that, but simply that,
that matters.
That they're this conscious of it.
Ray writes, both Potter and I are sophisticated enough to appreciate each other's sophistry.
It's so true.
All is good.
But I was right.
Ray, I'll say that in case he thinks you were.
Yeah, right.
But Ray writes, but I was right. Okay, good. All in good fun.
Right. It was a frank exchange of views. As the diplomats like to say.
Which was a total waste of time.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
You're the editor. I don't know what Ray does, but I mean, you're supposed to be putting out a paper, and you've got lots of stuff to do. And I was thinking,
with
these tomes you two are writing each other.
First of all,
parsing every other word.
It takes me 5 minutes to write something like that. And second of all, interacting with the public, especially its well-lettered and concerned members, is part of my job.
So you see the latest guy who's left the Romney camp?
Yeah, the gay national security expert.
Yeah, so it turns out that the guy that Romney had advising him on foreign policy is openly gay.
Yeah.
Well, he's not advising Romney on foreign policy anymore.
Right.
And it's not that Romney had, of course, Romney, the moderate, Romney showing his moderate roots, took this guy on because he actually
knew what he was talking about.
Right.
Well,
but
that's no excuse.
Right, whatever. But when Romney appointed this guy, and I'm not sure when that happened, it was months ago, there was a hue and cry from big portions of Romney's, Republican Party. In fact, one guy tweeted upon this, Romney picks out and out gay, loud gay, as a spokesman.
I like my queers mincing.
If personnel is policy, his message to the pro-family community, drop dead.
Jesus Christ. Actually, that's my message to the pro.
Right, yeah, that's my message, right. Drop dead, pro-family, pro-life. You guys with your labels, which are just so off.
Oh, yeah. The one that's really bumming me out is, and you don't hear it now so much as you did a few days ago in the wake of the primary election, was Jason Altmaier was outflanked from the left.
Do you believe that?
He what now?
I saw that. There were headlines over and over about that. Outflanked on the left. I'm thinking, excuse me, what are you talking about? You know why they say that? Because the unions supported Chris.
Right, and that just
shows,
that
makes, what absurdity.
Yeah, and on some high-profile votes. And I mean, Altmaier did act against sort of party orthodoxy in some ways, but honestly, that assumes that the party orthodoxy is left, and much to my regret, it's often not.
It's amazing.
So yeah, I agree with you. The labels are really idiotic.
So anyway, this guy resigned. He abruptly resigned after anti-gay elements, I guess.
Does it have a statement in there? Because he said something that was really interesting, which is like, I regret that the partisan environment prevents me from... There was something he said about that, and I remember thinking like, that it's too bad that this guy's leaving. I mean, it's too bad for Romney this guy's leaving his campaign, because that's a great way to finesse the issue. People will assume it has something to do. It tacitly sort of blames Democrats. When you say partisans, if you're a Republican, everybody assumes you must be complaining about Democrats. But obviously Democrats didn't give a damn. It was his own party base.
Exactly.
He was screwed over by the very people he hopes are going to go out and rally the cause for him, for the candidate. So
well, there's this thing about the anti-gay folks where it gets insane to me. Like that a guy who is gay, what are they thinking? That he can't, what do they want gay people to do? I mean, if these kinds of Christians had their way, what are they saying?
Yeah.
You cannot be part of our political party. You cannot be, what is this mother who was not allowed to be a den mother in the Boy Scouts, she was a lesbian, and she.
This is the only parent the Boy Scouts are safe from.
That's true. She's the only one who won't molest them. Right. It's just, and they wouldn't let her be not because she wouldn't be a good den mother, but because of what is that insanity?
Yeah, I don't know. And this is even worse because, of course, it would be one thing, and I'm not saying I'd agree with them, but if Romney had hired this guy to be like his head of family programs or something like that,
and then it might
at least you could kind of say rationally, but this is like, honestly, Rick Santorum, he had an aide for many years who was an openly gay guy.
He was his chief of staff.
Yes, exactly. So what, when you have gone beyond Senator Man on Dog action and your inability to tolerate this stuff, you have gone completely. And the sad thing is, and this is where you just look at Romney and you just feel nothing but contempt for the guy. He's going to try to win an election, and every poll you look at says the vast majority of people, including all these swing voters in the center who he wants to get, simply don't care.
That's right.
And actually, if anything, have a problem with people who have a problem. And yet you are still catering to that tiny little fragment of your base that is to the right of Rick freaking Santorum.
Well, I'd say Romney has a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
And this is the guy, and this is his national security guy, Mitt Romney, who's supposed to be standing tall and standing proud and be this courageous guy with convictions on the world stage, can't stand up to a couple of nutbags with a Twitter account on an issue of national security.
Right.
Which is, who is his national security advisor?
Now, going back
exactly
to
profound courage.
Our caller, John, was trying to say, I think I have to admit my capacity is still be stunned by what Republicans will say.
Yeah.
There's something just amazing to me that I still am capable of astonishment. But I am. I mean, regularly.
Important. Yes, but you have to be, because otherwise...
What?
Otherwise we countenance anything, right?
No. But when they jumped all over Obama for just like mentioning or saying, hey, I want to be your president again, and let us remember that I got Osama bin Laden. That's a perfectly... What candidate wouldn't say that?
Yeah.
And they said, trying to divide the country, making political hay out of it. What? What are they talking about?
Ask yourself this question. If Osama bin Laden were still alive, do you not think Republicans would be raising the issue of how Barack Obama conducted his foreign policy?
And as I noted, they took down a statue of Saddam Hussein, and my God, they had to reroute the an aircraft carrier and get a flight suit for W to fit into so he could fly onto a plane on the deck and tout mission accomplished
with a cod piece.
Why is everybody saying that? Somebody said that he stuffed it. Looked like he had stuffed
a
something
sock
in the
down
suit.
in his
I myself, see, now that's something
you weren't looking there,
because men must look at other men's crotches.
Sure, the same way women check each other out in the prom.
Yeah, but we don't look at your crotch.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
How do you know?
Look at that. Yeah, that's a good point. No, because of the Anthony Weiner thing, there was all that talk about no sane woman would ever.
No, that's
please
not a
send
turn
me
on.
Yeah.
Send me a picture of
that's
your
something guys.
junk.
Yeah, that's something guys
Why do we
assume
call
women
it
would want
junk?
because
there's a reason. God, yeah. I still can't. This is something else I can't get over.
What's that?
That a guy named Weiner did that.
Yeah.
I can't even get. I mean,
you'd have thought a lifetime of high school taunts.
No, if you were to write that in a story, let's say a creative writing story, and your teacher would say, "Oh, now come on, that's a little too."
Maybe it's because of the high school taunts he got. He just felt like he had to prove something.
Oh God,
no one ever really graduates. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the other thing too is like there's a legitimate thing too, which is. I remember back when the 2000 debate was going on, when the election was taking place. This was one of those areas where there's a very clear difference in terms of foreign policy. Barack Obama said, "I would go into Pakistan if I had a clean shot on this guy and kill him.
Take him out, and I wouldn't tell
regardless of whether the
Pakistanis
Pakistanis wanted me to or not."
Right.
And John McCain felt the opposite. And honestly,
and Hillary thought everybody else said, "No, you can't do that."
And honestly,
you're naive.
Honestly,
I did too.
I'm not sure I agreed with President Obama on that, and neither did Mitt Romney. And I don't think Mitt Romney, like that was his position. And for the president to say, I said I was going to do something when nobody else thought it was a good idea. I did it, and it worked, and now everybody thinks it's a great idea. That is how I define leadership. I can't...
And also, Romney's going around saying, well, anyone would have done that. Right. No, he was actually being advised by his defense secretary and his vice president not to do it. It was too risky. It was an extraordinarily gutsy thing to do, because if it had failed, he's finished.
And the talk is cheap. Afterwards, once it works, sure, I would have done that. But before it happened, you said you wouldn't.
Right. That's right.
So when does it matter? You when you had a chance to be on the record... You said the opposite, and I'm not trying to I'm not running for president, obviously, but I'm not trying to say I don't think it was a good idea, and honestly, maybe it's the
so. What do you think of the fact that the Republicans are trying to take away for the Democrats this wonderful thing they have on Romney, which is sticking his dog on the roof of the car and traveling on the roof of the car by do you know how they've
He ate a dog when he was 14 years old.
Because Obama has actually eaten a dog.
Yeah.
When he was a child.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. But on the other hand, I don't really care about that issue. I mean, I just think that's
well. Why would anybody care about it?
Well, I think it's stupid. I just think it's stupid. So he puts a dog
on. And Obama's joking about it. He says, "What's the difference between Sarah Palin and a pit bull? A pit bull's delicious." Didn't you hear that?
No. I had not heard that.
That was part of his speech at the
White House correspondence,
and he delivered it beautifully. He said, with a big smile, he said, "Because a pit bull is delicious."
That's my president.
That's the guy.
I always take more pride in that line than I do in Osama bin Laden. Doesn't matter.
All right.
That is funny.
That's good. So, I suppose you don't like Reg Henry.
I don't think much about him one way or the other.
Jeez, do you see how nasty the world of
No, I don't. I'm sorry. He's a perfectly nice fellow.
He's a very nice fellow, and he can be very funny. Did you read his column today?
I have not.
No, because you wouldn't read it. He seemed like it's the only time Mr. Happy gets sort of sour.
We got a call.
You bring up Mushi, you bring up Henry.
No, that's not true. That's not
competition.
Go ahead, caller.
Lynn, it's Mike in the Netherlands. How are you?
Oh, hi, Mike in the Netherlands. And boy, did I get in under the wire, huh?
Yeah, I sure did.
Jeez. You want to go there now and smoke some pot? Forget about it.
What?
You can't.
Wait, what happened?
Only the Dutch can. Can you?
Only the Dutch can.
So, Mike, you can't either if you wanted to.
Yeah, but there's ways around that.
Oh, sure there are. You know people.
So wait, so is it like a voter ID thing? It's like if you want to smoke up, you have to display photo ID. Like, how do they know?
Yeah, you have to show your Dutch citizenship.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's not everywhere, but I think next January, it certainly will. But I haven't smoked weed since 1985, so I'm not going to start now.
Yeah.
Good for you. I can't say the same.
Well, now it's got some outlaw credibility to it again.
Yeah, outlaw cred.
Yeah. Now it's forbidden fruit.
But anyway, that's
but you see here, a lot of the problem stems from the foreigners who come here and smoke it. The Germans, the English,
the women
English
from
come
Pittsburgh,
here on Fridays. Pittsburghers, yeah. On Fridays, there's a party plane that comes here, and it drops all a bunch of drunken English people who just go all through Amsterdam and cause all kinds of problems. So they're trying to curb that.
You should ban soccer too for the same reason.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time left, so why'd you call, really? Huh?
But real quick, the Mitt Romney thing about the dog on the bus, the dog on the top of the car.
Yeah.
It bothers me because it shows a lack of compassion and judgment.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And my mother used to always say, a person who can hurt a dog scares me a lot more than a person who can hurt another person.
I'm with your mom.
I disagree. They're
dogs.
I mean,
because you look at a dog, and it's an innocent creature. But there's a lot of people who need to be hurt. There's a lot of people you could say, well, that guy really needed to get his ass kicked.
Right.
But you can never really say that about a dog.
Not many dogs, no. Absolutely not. Right. No, I absolutely agree with you. It says something about him. Right.
Yeah.
So you'd have been happier. So you'd have been happier if you put one of his kids up on the roof. Is that what you're saying?
I maybe would have understood it a little bit more.
That's right. Yeah, the
Have you
kids
been in
were-
a
Hey, let me
car
tell you
with Mitt
something.
Romney's kids?
My father, on those long vacations, my father probably would have put us up on the car.
I know. You know, my father had a part interest in a funeral home, and when he wanted to take his 3 kids, 2 of us heading into teenagehood on a motor trip into Canada and then down the East Coast, he actually got the not the hearse, the family limo from the which had a partition. You know, my mom and dad were in the front with a window. Yeah, and the 3 of us are in the back of this disgusting, mourner's car. I remember when we pulled up to a laundromat in London, Ontario, so my mom could do some of our clothes. Can you imagine pulling up in a Cadillac limo to a laundromat? I wanted to die. We all wanted to die.
Well, you were in the right car
We
for
had to hide in the trunk one time.
What?
My sister and I had to hide in the trunk one time because back in the 70s, they would, when you pulled up to a motel, they would count like the people in your car.
Yeah.
So your parents put you in the trunk?
He would just for about 3 minutes. He put us in the trunk, and then he drove up and he backed up to the hotel room, and then he took us out. He took us out with the luggage, and quick. And my mother opened the hotel room door, and he ran in with us under each arm real quick.
I think
so
that's
he wouldn't have to
admirable.
pay.
That's like going to a drive-in movie. You do the same
Yeah,
thing.
we did that.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Scofflaws.
And it probably saved him $3.
Yeah, but it gave you a story to tell for the rest of your life. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's great hearing from you, Mike. Thanks for calling.
You too. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
I want to give props to the Dutch government for treating the sacred ceremony of marijuana as seriously as we do voting in this country. Like, you're actually going to make people demonstrate their citizenship.
And even though we're almost out of time.
When you go to the polls, instead of going to the polls, get it? Go to the polls. Sorry.
God. You ever notice you're the only one laughing at your own?
No, Jess is with me.
Oh,
Jess
she
is with
laughs
me.
at anything.
I know. That's kind of what I like about
Okay, so just quickly, Reg Henry defining liberals.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
I think some people, not you, will get a kick out of this. According to my own definition, a liberal is someone who is tolerant of consenting adults having any sort of sex, but does not approve of them having a cigarette afterward.
Yeah.
Look at, he refuses to laugh.
I've heard that before.
Oh, okay. Liberals tend to dislike guns, corporations, discriminatory behavior, inequality in its many forms, talk radio, union busting, Fox News, haters, and mean people, which in their view is just another way of saying conservatives.
Yes.
That's all true. I think he's right on the money here. Refuse to laugh.
Well, now I'm doing it as a matter of principle. You put me in a box.
I got 2 more things here, and then I'm going to go, because I thought someone in the audience might enjoy this.
Right.
Okay. Liberals don't mind the government being big so much as they want it to be like a fond aunt, kindly and incorruptible and preferably cuddly. They would not be against a federal department of puppies and kittens. Jess, why
laughed
don't
at
you?
that.
Yeah, but Jess always laughs. Ah! And here she's laughing like.
Maybe Jess
can't
just
even
thinks
hear
I'm
it.
funnier than Reg
No,
Henry.
okay. God.
Maybe I sign Jess's paychecks and Reg Henry doesn't.
There you go. And one more.
Yeah.
And liberals don't believe that the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants, as right-wingers do. Instead, liberals think a good organic compost would do the job.
Was that better? I've always wondered about that quote.
Sure.
Why not just with tyrants?
Hey,
why do you want to water the blood of the tree of liberty with patriots too? I mean, I guess the idea is that some of them are going to die.
Some are
going
to die in the effort.
Yeah, but why don't we just use drones to kill the tyrants?
Even the president yesterday talking to the troops, and I heard this, said, some of you, he's talking to them, he says, some of you are going to get hurt, some of you are going to get killed.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay.
On that note, have a great Wednesday, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you for putting up with us, and especially Potter. And have a good day, and stay tuned for anything and everything. And tomorrow, Tom Sokolowski. Is this
will
your?
behave himself.
Yeah,
No, I think
that's
this is-
mine.
This is me waving the way my kid does.
No, kids always go like.
It's like that.
No, they go like.
He does
Yeah,
this.
that-
He does this.
They all do that. They can't quite.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.